Gentlemen, Path of Fire, Living World Season 4 has been a resounding success. Tommy, the work you did on that mount system puts every other MMO to shame. Greg, your cutscenes with Kralkatorrik literally brought people to tears. Ignoring the Aurene bit, we'll talk later. But gentlemen, it's time for what's next. And I present to you my idea, Icebrood Saga. And I have 3 words that are gonna blow your mind. Dragon response missions. Are we ready? Let's go! My friends, every MMO at some point hits a stumbling block, and we have hit it with Guild Wars 2. Up until now, I have literally enjoyed playing this game, working through all the content they put out for years, seeing how their development cycle grew and actually compounded on their positives and fixed their negatives. And now we reach Icebrood Saga, the penultimate piece of content before the new expansion launches this month, or next month now. And oof. Now, I have been conflicted on what to say about this. And that's because this very much reminds me of World of Warcraft's Shadowlands expansion. And as some of you will know, I was brutal about that expansion. I spoke directly with the developers. I pleaded with Blizzard not to make some of the decisions that they were making going into that expansion, as it just spelled disaster from every single orifice that I could see. And it ended up turning a lot of people, including myself, away from the game until we reached Dragonflight, where they retroactively fixed a lot of those things. Now, here's the problem. I paid for Shadowlands. I understood the issues that Blizzard was going through at the time when they developed that piece of content, and I paid for it. And ultimately, my thoughts were, I am a customer. I am paying for this product, and I am not beholden, just as none of you are, to a product or a company. I am not beholden to Coca-Cola or to Evian Water or whoever it might be to stick with their product through thick and thin. No, I'm a consumer. I'm paying money that I've earned in order to acquire your product, and I expect a certain standard, and that standard was not upheld. And therefore, I can freely be angry about this product, despite understanding that you suffered difficult conditions in order to make it. And I felt the same way about Icebrood Saga for the details we'll get into shortly. However, if you played at the time, you did not pay for this product. Now, I paid for it because I was not there at the time, and if you retroactively come back, you do have to purchase these extra products. But while you were there, they gave it you for free. And that really does diminish the amount of rage and anger you can have about a weak piece of content if you didn't pay for it. But it doesn't change the fact that it still turned into a lump of excrement. And let's get into the details of that. Firstly, let's talk about the obvious problem that I would find, and that is that I started Project MMO with a simple goal, and that is to complete the raids in multiple MMOs, and we have technically finished the raids of Guild Wars 2. However, what they did was ditch the idea of raids and change them into something new that they called strikes, and these are essentially like the trials in Final Fantasy. Trash was not working for Guild Wars 2. The theme and the setting and the duration of raids was also not working for the Guild Wars 2 player base. And in general, from what we can tell going back through the archives and the Wayback Machine, etc., they were too hard. Guild Wars 2 shines exemplarily, better than most games when it comes to drop-in, drop-out gameplay. You can achieve wonderful things in 30 minutes, 4 hours, whatever it might be, but you can go in, get something really cool done, such as a meta event with a giant, enormous world boss, and then you can go away for a bit, and it's fine. And you can do that as a solo player with no organization required, no communication required with other people, and the game is built to enhance that with its revolutionary commander system. It does so much right in that area.
There you are.
Whoa.
All right, everyone, get ready.
That's so good. Oh, shit.
You are all weaklings.
Raids are not like that. They require coordination. They require people to get organized. Voice comms is kind of a must in a lot of occasions, and the bosses are pretty complex, and world bosses just aren't, right? You need to know 1 or 2 things and you'll be fine. So they didn't really work, and they were also too difficult for a lot of players who don't understand the deeper mechanics of the boon system, etc., and group setup and how important it is and the dramatic difference it can have on your raid performance. So they ditched it, and they decided to replace it with strikes, which were going to be singular boss encounters, trashless for the most part, and this was my first real opportunity to deal with strikes. I have done the Old King's Court, which I wish I hadn't. It was just that people were like, hey, you've unlocked a strike after doing Living World Season 1, and it turns out that was a very modern piece of content and kind of skewed my opinion of things for a little while. Icebrood Saga was the first real introduction of strikes. These are the originals. This is what their first idea was. And they decided to do certain things with them, which surprised the hell out of me. Just dropped my pants to the floor and bent me over. And the first thing was they made them ludicrously easy, to the point that my brain checked out. Very much reminded me of the war fronts in Battle for Azeroth of World of Warcraft, in that they have seemingly unlosable conditions. Like, to lose there, you must really, really screw up. Nothing really hurts you. They don't have much health. You just kind of go in and win. Yeah, I'm not sure where these strikes fit into... They're so different. Okay. Why do you think they did this? Oh, why have I got a problem with it being too easy? I don't particularly have a problem with it. I always find it stuff that's too easy disappointing. I'm always a little wary of stuff that might take longer to organize than to actually do. And I was not prepared at all, and I was very, very sad because the big encounters of what I've been looking forward to every step of the way in Guild Wars 2, and going into Icebrood Saga, I was like, what is this? This is, like, not good. For me, anyway. Now, I don't want to be clear here. I'm not saying hard equals good, right? That's sort of nonsensical point of view. No, there are a million really tough, stupidly hard games out there that I don't enjoy. So, Impossible Game, or I Want to Be the Boshi, or something like that. What I do want, though, is something that engages my brain. That's it. That's what I'm after. I want to be engaged. I want to be into what I'm doing. I want to care about what the boss is going to do. I want to care about what my team is doing. And when an encounter doesn't require that, I'm going to drift. That's when we have a lot of MMO gamers who slap on YouTube, watch videos like this, watch some Twitch, or crack on their TV show, or if you're streaming, you start talking to the audience in a way that you wouldn't ordinarily do if you're engaged. One conversation could be like, what's going to happen next? I can't wait. Let's figure this boss out. Another conversation is like, no, Swedish pizza is terrible and it's awful. That's a different conversation. My brain is somewhere else. It is not engaged with what's happening on the screen, and I'm trying to detach my brain from what my hands are actually doing. And I felt that way with these strikes in Icebrood Saga. It was very, very sad. But after having done Old King's Court, it kind of came around. It's like, I know this is going to change, but it was one of the biggest disappointments that I played through. Going to the story then. The story has gotten better and better in Guild Wars 2. As with most things, they've found their positives, they've risen them up. So I was very, very surprised as to how the story played out in Icebrood Saga. And this is where it gets a little complicated to talk about this subject. In that it started really well. It had no ice in it, which was very surprising. The beginning of the story was actually a prologue and introduction to more Char culture, something I haven't had much dealings with, being my non-character, and therefore that was kind of cool. I had suspicions about that culture in terms of how they treat their children. That was actually added to in this prologue, and it had some of the best events. In fact, it had the best events I have encountered in Guild Wars 2 yet, which was the rock concert, where you're crowd surfing and mosh pitting with a large group of players, and it's fantastic. It was so fun that I didn't really care that this was actually something to earn XP or whatever. Flame! Yeah! Flame! Fuck yeah!
We are Metal Legion! We're here to put the band back in Warband!
Jump in the mosh pit. Oh, no way! That's so funny.
Not good. It's out of control.
What the hell?
It's all part of the show.
Never saw it coming.
Defense, then offense.
The Haywire concert finale.
Might need getting help.
The sets come to life.
Thank you, Legion! You are a great crowd!
That was fantastic. What a great idea for an event. It was super, super fun. But it did highlight the fact that the masteries in Icebrood Saga, and so far, going through the game, Path of Fire was all the mount masteries. Like, I want them all. I don't care. And I will never return to doing the Icebrood Saga masteries. I do not care. They're horrible and pointless and stupid. And I was like, this is really tacked on. And this was kind of mixed with the strikes. Something's wrong. And I didn't know what it was at the time, but I could sniff it. Like, something's not right here. One, we had no finale to Living World Season 4 that led into something exciting with Icebrood Saga. We just kind of got a cutscene for the trailer. Usually there's some build-up to what you're going to face to get you excited. A long way from the company that made their expansion announcement at the end of game content without revealing it as like, tune into Gamescom, tune into the PC Expo, whatever it might be. They hid their announcement in the game itself, like a very, very long way from that company to literally have nothing teasing what was going to happen in the future, and just a video trailer that eventually came out saying, Jawmag's here, big ice dragon. I was like, oh, okay. Cool, I guess, but the way you've presented the other new pieces of content in the past is so, so much better. Something stank, something was wrong, something was rotten. And so we continued to play through. And I have to say, the story was decent enough. I actually kind of enjoyed it, except the fact that, suspiciously, a lot of the characters were missing. And it was really odd. Because everything up until now has involved all the characters in one form or another from our little dragon's fanged sword, whatever we are, our scions of Guild Wars 2. And a lot of them were missing. And that was really strange. And it noticeable by their absence. I was like, why are we just with Brahm and like Ritlock and nobody else is seemingly involved in this process?
I like Bram because he likes, messing stuff up and breaking things. And he has sort of like a primal rage to him. I mean, you know what I mean.
Give her a beat.
Interesting stuff that we've done with him is the stuff with his mother, with Air. And that was really challenging too, because it's not like I'm acting with the person who plays the mom. He's not just one note. He has lots of depth, and he can be emotional sometimes and mean sometimes, and also kind of funny and dumb. And just as an actor, it's been more of a challenge to find these new parts of him in these kinds of scenes that we just haven't played with him before.
But overall, the story was decent enough, leading obviously to a giant fight with an ice dragon, which is cool. As somebody who's not a Guild Wars 1 player, a lot of this stuff is new to me. But people, again, doing research, were very, very excited to actually have a fight with Jawmag, and looking forward to this. Then we get to the ending of Icebrood Saga. So story is enjoyable so far, strikes were disappointing, zones were fine, masteries were pointless, something was wrong, something was rotten. And then we reached the end, where I encountered what the Guild Wars 2 players who are listening to this will know about, called Dragon Response Missions. And I can only compare them essentially to island expeditions from Battle for Azeroth in terms of the concept of these is pretty good. Implementation, swing and a miss. Massive swing and a miss. And it was really, really saddened for me. So the ending is so different. And this is where you can clearly see that they hit a massive low point internally, which I'll get to shortly. In that suddenly all the characters came back in a really strange way, almost completely disconnected from the story we had done so far. They all reappear for little odd pieces of content. And in these Dragon Response missions, which are instanced missions that you go on and are forced upon you, they're part of the story, so you must go and do them. You go into a little instanced area, which has a little pre-event, usually a little boss at the end, and a little bit of story to go with it. And you're out in 5 to 7 minutes, something like that. And to my shock, because I thought this was an introduction to a new system, like islands, like you can go on these are kind of like solo fractals or something like that. They continuously push them on you. Over and over and over and over again. Oh, you finished that one? Well, there's another one. You finished that one? Well, there's another one, and you have to do it. Wait, there's more? Bro, are you for fucking real? We've done like 6 or 7 of these things. What are you doing? Oh, give me a break.
Spirits.
I can almost feel the devs just being like, I'm so
Having to face
sorry.
fire, not ice.
Folks were caught
so
outside
sorry.
the walls.
Talk about like ramming your idea of a concept and content into the ground and spreading it so thin that you actually make people choke on this process. And that's what happened, as I think you end up doing something like 12 with bits of dialogue in between. So it takes hours to get this stuff done. And what makes it worse is I then find out is like this was released time gated. Like some of us waited weeks, if not months, between content patches, and then that content patch would arrive and it was just more of these missions. Oof. Really bad. Because I imagine, and we've checked this, so we do kind of guess it's true, is that this was when most of the player base just abandoned Guild Wars 2 for a while. It stopped people playing the game. Which again reminds me of the Shadowlands situation. It's like, I'm done. You know, you got your more dailies every day, grinding renown. I'm not into it. My brain's checked out. Other games are just doing way more fun stuff. I'm going to go and play those. Yes, it's free. I get it, but also I'm not going to play it because, frankly, there's a different restaurant next door offering better things. It's as simple as that. The culmination of this is the big battle, which plays out kind of auto battle. You just get to watch it from a distance. And it's over, and it's done, and it's incredibly disappointing. And if I was a lore head, this is kind of like the build-up to Arthas and Wrath of the Lich King, yet the fight just plays out and you watch Bolvar and Arthas go at it. And, okay. No epic battle to be had. I mean, it's a very large-scale room, but the fight sucks, which is terrible. So, yeah, sour taste at the end. Very sour taste. And it was the first time ever, which makes me really sad, in Guild Wars 2, where I did mentally check out. And I'm always honest with my audience in any way I possibly can be, because it saves me having to remember lies. Like, a lot of people do lie on YouTube and things like that to enhance the experience. I prefer not to, because remembering lies is crazy fucking annoying and boring. And I had to say while I was playing through this, like, I don't even know what's happening anymore.
Together can direct.
I have a problem, Guild Wars 2
no.
fans.
Why
This
can I
content
sense
has been so
destroyers? What does
repetitive.
Owl's message
I have
mean?
no real
How do
idea
we
what's
fight
happening
two
anymore.
elder
I don't know
dragons
what we
at
just
once?
did.
Calm
I played
down,
that without
Brian.
ever looking at my
We'll
screen.
figure it out. We always do.
The spirits of the wild have known Jormungandr.
Apparently the owl's dead now. I don't know why.
Maybe they can help.
That's the first time that's happened in Guild Wars 2. I don't know what's going on. And that's because I'm just bored. I'm really bored. And I'm more interested in what we're talking about in the live chat than what's going on in the game. I'm not theorizing. I'm not interested. I'm not wondering where other characters are. Why aren't they doing this? When is this going to happen? Anything like that. Like I've expressed to you in our other Guild Wars 2 videos, I was totally checked out and way more interested in what's the new expansion going to hold. We're getting to End of Dragons. What do we think about this? What about the new FF patch? You know, things like that. Totally drifted out of the game, and then I realized, I was like checked back in for a second. I was like, guys, I don't even know what's going on anymore. I'm totally out of the loop of what's going on. I've just been playing this. My hands have been playing this content. My brain has not, which was really, really sad. And then it turns out, of course, that what happened in the background is a lot of staff were laid off under commands of their overarching company. They just got the email saying that a lot of the staff had to go. And also they were dealing with COVID, and I understand these situations, I do. And I'm less harsh on them because, again, it was free content. It's just that they clearly had to spread some things so thin. They brought the characters back to do some voice acting as member berries things, like remember Keith? Remember Timey? It's like, yeah, I remember these characters. Where the hell have they been? Up until now, creating this really strange, disjointed story. And ultimately, without being too over the top on this, yes, Icebrood Saga was terrible at the end. And I think this is really sad, but it is a reality, is how it finishes, especially when it finishes on such a low note as Icebrood Saga does, is that is your overall memory of this experience. Despite the fact that Icebrood Saga starts pretty strong, and the story is okay. The strikes were definitely poor, but the zones were fine, the meta events were interesting, the masteries were poor, it had its weak spots, but it's the ending that's such a monumental drag down on this game that I will never return to Icebrood Saga content. I have gone back to Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire and all that kind of stuff. I've gone back to those to do things that I still want to get finished, like collecting all the mounts or whatever it might be. Icebrood Saga, I will happily file away under did it, never doing it again. Which is the first big low point I've had with this Guild Wars 2 adventure. So that's my thoughts on that so far. But I am, obviously the strikes I know get better. So I'm looking forward to that. And we have reached End of Dragons. It is now time to get up to the modern tier of content. And a lot of people, when we were discussing Icebrood Saga, were like, End of Dragons is way, way better. Like, they had to pull themselves up. The game was obviously at a low point. They drove a lot of bad faith with Icebrood Saga, and they had to sort it out. And End of Dragons is going to be the one for us. Well, that is my thoughts on Icebrood Saga. Is a lot of issues internally. I can't be as harsh on it as I was with Shadowlands, because it was a free update, and I totally understand why people just go, ugh. Yeah, bit of a waste. A lot of wasted potential there, and a real sadness for me to be the first time I ever checked out of what was actually happening in the game and felt like I was farming currency in a game or something like that. Big sadness. But I'm not down on going into End of Dragons. I feel like this is the kick in the butt the company needed, similar for Dragonflight for World of Warcraft, in order to up their game. So that's what I'm hoping to see. End of Dragons, I want to have that finished. My goals right now are actually have End of Dragons finished and done before the new expansion launches, so I can be alongside everybody for that expansion launch experience. I've never had that in Guild Wars 2, and I'm more than excited to do it. But on top of that, we have, of course, got a ton of FF WoW content, and of course, Destiny 2 raids to finish in line with Project MMO. So stay tuned for those, and I'll catch up with you soon. Thank you so much, guys, for listening, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.